It's going. Okay, here we go. Atoms and the periodic table. So we're going to be looking over here at the periodic table of the elements. And we're going to relate the atoms to the table. So the table was not actually made to make things harder. That's not the whole purpose. There would be no point. The table is actually supposed to help make things easier. So once you understand how and why the table is laid out the way it is literally having answers to the class on the wall. So let's start. All right over here. All right, so if we look at the number one atom on the periodic table, that's hydrogen. That would be element number one, okay? Now, we are not going to draw all of the elements. That would take days and days and days. That's not the point. The point is to go far enough that we start to see the patterns. And then once you get the pattern, you got it. So, element number one is hydrogen. In the very middle of a hydrogen atom, there is one proton in its nucleus. In fact, since I know I'm going to be doing several of these, and we're going to want to compare them side by side, I'm going to start all the way over here on the left side of the board. And that's taking up some space. We probably want that space back. There we go. All right, so let's start with element number one, hydrogen. In the very middle of a hydrogen atom, there is one proton for its nucleus. And surrounding the hydrogen atom, there is one electron. And that one electron goes round and round and round and round, with the negative electron bouncing out the positive proton. And there we have hydrogen. Now, element number two then, helium. Clear over on the other side. Element two would have two protons in the middle, and around the outside of the atom there are two electrons. So there we've got element two, helium. All right, then let's look at element three. Element three would be lithium. And because it's element three, it would have three protons in the nucleus. Now, there are also particles in the nucleus called neutrons, but we're not worried about those yet. Okay, we can talk about the neutrons in the future. Right now, we're trying to establish a basic pattern. And we've got our first pattern right now, so we're going to go over here. So, if on a quiz or a test or homework or something, you may have noticed that hydrogen is element one and it has one proton. That helium is element two and it has two protons. Lithium is element three and it has three protons. So this isn't actually supposed to be hard. The table was made to make things easier. So if I asked on a quiz or a test or something about manganese, manganese is element number 25. So in a manganese nucleus, there are 25 protons because it's element 25. And like I said, once you understand the periodic table, it's going to be like answers are right there on the wall. So for instance, tantalum. Tantalum is element 73. So if I asked how many protons does a tantalum have, 73. Or silver. If I asked how many protons does a silver have, it has 47. So that's the first thing that we're noticing here, or the first pattern here is that the atoms on the periodic table are arranged in order of ascending protons and ascending mass. So these numbers here that have little decimals on them, these are the masses. well, actually that was a bad example because cobalt and nickel's actually a little bit less on average, but the average gets into isotopes and stuff. So not something we're talking about today. So let's just keep it simple for today. And look at the number of protons. So a gallium nucleus has 31 protons. All right, back over here. All right, so we left off with element 3, lithium. All right, so lithium has 3 protons in its nucleus. It has 3 electrons total. However, this little area here, this orbit or this shell, there are different words that you can use to describe it if you're talking about different models of the atom. But this orbit or this shell only has room, it's not changed colors yet. It only has room for 2 electrons.